Okay, you're on.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming today. I'd like to call the 6th session of the Hawaii County Council Committee on Planning to order. Today is March 12th, 2013. The actual time is 11:04, and we are at the council chambers here in Hilo. Please turn off all cell phones, pagers, and other mobile communications devices, or put them on silent mode. I'd like to introduce the members of the committee that are present today. Starting to my far left, Mr. Onishi will be joining us here, I'm sure. Ms. Willie, Ms. Poindexter, Ms. Ford. To my far right, Mr. Ilagan, Mr. Yoshimoto, Mr. Kanuha, Ms. Eoff, and myself, Chair Zendo Kern. We will be starting with the statements from the public. And so we have so far one testifier here in Hilo. Are there any testifiers in Kona?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have 3 testifiers. I'd also like to say that the nominees for the Kona CDP Action Committee are present, and Mr. Bennett Mark from the Planning Department Administration is present here also.
Thank you. Are there any testifiers in Waimea?
Good morning, Chair. We do not have testifiers for this committee.
Thank you. Any testifiers in Pahoa?
Morning, Chair. There are no testifiers for this committee this morning.
Thank you very much. Any testifiers in Ka'u?
Good morning, Chair Kern. There are no testifiers here in Ka'u.
Very good. Thank you. We'll go ahead and start in Kona. Can you please call up your first 2 testifiers? Again, before you do begin, there is a rule for 3 minutes. I allowed public testimony of 3 minutes. When it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I'll ask you to please summarize. At 3 minutes, I'll ask you to stop nicely. And if you don't stop, I will then hit the gavel and ask you to stop. Not as nice. Thank you very much. It's the only way to keep this process fair. So with that, you may begin.
Our first testifier in Kona today is Ms. Marnie Herkes. She's testifying in support on Communication 149 in regards to the Kona CDP Action Committee.
Good morning, council members. I'm a member of the Action Committee, was a member of the Steering Committee, and went to many of the meetings that set up the Kona CDP. I support all 5 of the nominees, and I know them all. The most important part is that they are dedicated to the plan and to Kona, knowledgeable about it, and supportive of it, and I think they all are. All 5 can articulate Kona's vision as expressed in the plan, and all are capable of understanding smart growth and working together to achieve it. Greg Ogan is a very important part of this, as he's a commercial space leaser. This is going to be very important. As you know, when this building, the Civic Center, was built, the space in Kailua, there's a lot of vacant space. We're going to do the plan calls to do the same thing to South Kona. We're going to build a judiciary, where they're having a meeting this morning on. We're going to build a new medical center. HHSC is looking for the site now. And we obviously have a new university. So a lot of vacant space is going to become available in South Kona. We need somebody who's knowledgeable about that area of expertise. Hiram Riviera is a local stakeholder, and will bring in a part of the community that's not been well involved in the Kona Community Plan in the past, and I think it's really important to bring that part together. Chauncey Wang Yuen is also local and will bring a new stakeholder group to become interested in the Kona Plan. Erin Nagata, of course, is a community social worker and has a different group of people to bring into the plan. Elaine is a longtime Kona resident, a friend, but she's also got many alternative people that she can bring as stakeholder groups to the plan, as well as put the plan before more people. I'm in support of all 5 of these nominees, and I ask you to vote in approval of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Please call up your next testifier in Kona.
Our next testifier, Mr. Chair, is Ms. Janice Palma-Glenny. She is testifying in opposition of Communication 149 in regards to the Kona CDP Action Committee.
Hold on one second. Before you begin, I just want to clarification. Are you folks timing over there in Kona?
No,
Okay.
we do not have a timer in
We
Kona.
are timing here, correct? Okay, very good. Just want to make sure I was going to hear it and the light wasn't going to go off for there. Ms. Pomeglen, you may begin. Thank you.
Aloha, I'm a 30-plus year Hawaii resident, decades-long land use advocate. My husband and I have run a small agricultural-based business for 25 years. I took part in the original CDP charrettes and have been a member of the steering and action committee since their inception. From the start, the KCDP was very inclusive. With your decision today, that could continue or end. First point is the mayor shouldn't be making appointments for regional action committee membership, but that's for another time. The integrity of the applicants here is not the issue, and my testimony and final council vote last year against 2 of the 3 nominees had nothing to do with differing views, but only with the best interests of the community and regional planning. The reason the past council's decision was appropriate was that the CDP clearly requires diversity of action committee membership per section 5.2.1. From what I've gleaned from extremely limited information and time presented on the 5 applicants, 4 have a growth, development, real estate related background. 4 of 5. Current committee member Matt Binder is stepping down because he's moving to Waimea, leaving a gap in journalistic and teaching perspective. And even if 2 or possibly 1 of the applicants are approved today, I'll lose my committee seat as sole environmental advocate. Aside from me, 2 of the 3 remaining committee members work as development consultants or in some way the development related field. This information is critical in making your decision today of whether the appointments would serve the legal mandate to create a varied, balanced action committee group perspective. Lord knows I need time to earn a living and live my life, but the perspective that's widely shared in our community regarding the dire importance of protecting natural resources will be lost with my departure. If any of the applicants shares those views or commitment to the intrinsic and even economic long-term value of protecting natural open space, as I have, they've been very reserved. Also, to the best of my knowledge, none has attended a CDP meeting or charrette. That could be incorrect, but certainly not a CDP meeting that I know of, and I question that absence, especially in the 2 earlier applicants whose applications were obviously going to be revisited, yet they never came to a meeting after that. The main thrust of regional planning is community. To represent a diverse community means that the needs, goals, and dreams of residents throughout the South and North Kona regions are represented. For the CDP to be a living, relevant document, those thousands of voices must be reasonably included in decision-making, which will affect their lives and those of their children. I suggest that the current nominations be taken separately at a later date to give the public more time to peruse their backgrounds in order to intelligently weigh in on those who will, in important ways, decide their community's future. The Action Committee can continue with current membership and still make quorum during that time. As was the case last year, the appointment of these applicants en masse will severely undermine the diversity required by the legally binding Kona Community Development Plan. Mahalo for thinking out and voting outside of the box today on these nominations. I thank the applicants for putting themselves forward, as I know volunteerism is thankless task sometimes.
Thank you very much. We're going to now come to Hilo, Jeremy Kwok on Communication 64. Good morning. Please turn your microphone on the button on the bottom. Give us your name, and then you may begin your 3 minutes. We'll begin.
Great. Good morning. My name is Jeremy Kwok. I work for the Hawaii Department of Education. I'm here on behalf of the department testifying in support of Resolution 7513, Communication 164. I emailed our testimony earlier, and you should have additional copies of our written testimony and flowchart. Just to summarize, the School Impact Fee Law was passed by the legislature in 2007, and the West Hawaii Impact District was imposed in 2010. And since that time, we haven't been able to come to a resolution with the county administration on how we can implement the Impact Fee Law in West Hawaii. The impact fees are tied to the county building permit process, so we do need some, at least minimal level of cooperation and compliance on the part of the county. In particular, the impact fee law states that the county has to refrain from issuing a building permit within an impact district for residential construction unless the impact fee has been paid, and that's been verified by the DOE, or the project is otherwise exempt. Under the impact fee law, fees collected must be used by the DOE for the acquisition of school land or for the construction of new school facilities within the impact district. And so we would greatly appreciate the council's support of this resolution, and would encourage the county administration to please conform to the statute and please assist the DOE in implementing the district. And if you have questions in the future, please feel free to contact our office. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to ask, thank you for your testimony. Would you please stick around because we might have questions.
Yeah,
We'll bring
sure.
you back up for questions.
All right.
Thank you very much. Back to Kona. Are you on your third and final, or are there more testifiers?
This is our last testifier.
Okay, very good. You may begin.
All right, this is Mr. Ken Melrose. He will be testifying in support on Communication 149 in regards to the nominees to the Kona CDP Action Committee. And he also wants to testify in opposition to Communication 164 regarding the DOE impact fee.
Mr. Melrose, just please let me know when you transition. You'll have 3 minutes on each communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Kern. Good morning. I would like to express my support for council approval of the 5 nominees presented for the Action Committee to the Kona CDP. Each has unique talents and perspectives representing the variety in our community, and all have a long history of contribution to this Kona community in their own individual ways. I served on the steering committee during the creation of the Kona CDP and am chair of the Action Committee charged to help implement it. Being one of the last 2 original appointees with a 4-year term, which expires in June. And at present, we have only Bo Kahui and myself as original members and 2 recent appointees. And as Janice pointed out, one of those is resigning. So 4 members out of the required 9. Fortunately, several of those members, like Janice and Marnie, with expired terms have continued to serve in a holdover capacity so we can keep quorum and continue to meet. Your concurrence with these nominees, new ones, will allow several months in my remaining term to help these members learn the importance of the policies and mechanisms of the Kona CDP, then organize their leadership selection to move forward. Working with the planning department, I have committed to structure our next 3 Action Committee meetings as part tutorial and part continued productivity. A special meeting of all the CDP Action Committee meetings members of the island is set for early April, which offers initial training and long-needed interaction between the various action committees. We need these 5 nominees appointed in March to take advantage of that valuable opportunity. The vision of Kona CDP is Kona's future shall be a more sustainable Kona characterized by a deep respect for the culture and environment and residents who responsibly accommodate change through an active and collaborative community. The role of the Action Committee is advisory to the Planning Director to keep the flame of the Kona CDP alive and the guiding principles and policies implemented. Unlike most any other board for which you approve appointments, the Action Committee does not approve any individual project applications or county policy. We strive to see opportunities, blind alleys, and bumps in the road and work individually and collectively to find collaborative solutions and nurture desired outcomes. Please support all 5 of these applicants. I would transition to Communication 164 briefly. I would like to speak against the imposition of the DOE impact fee. I did participate in the working groups when it was being created, and I believe the methodology is flawed, and the spotty application of an impact fee is contrary to the principles of impact fees as universally applied. I do not dispute the need for projects to address the impacts they have on existing schools. In fact, I help build schools, primarily charter schools, as my principal business. But the proposed impact fee is not the right methodology. Please defer action on that item. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to testify in any location? Please let me know. Seeing none, we will move on to referrals. Clerk, will you please read in Communication 149?
Communication 149, nomination of Gregory G. Ogden, Hiram P. Rivera, Chauncey T. Wong Ewan, Aaron N. Nagata, and Elaine Fukushima to the Kona Community Development Plan Action Committee from Mayor Billy Kanoy dated February 15, 2013, requesting the council's review and favorable confirmation of the above nominations.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. May I have a motion to close file on Communication 149 and approve nomination of Gregory G. Hogan to the Kona Community Development Plan Action Committee? And just so we know, we're going to take each name individually.
So moved. Second.
Very good. Chair, would you like to introduce?
Okay, good morning, Committee Chair and members. All of the nominees are in Kona today. The first one we have here is Mr. Greg Hogan.
Can you please have Mr. Hogan come forward?
Okay, Mr. Hogan lives in Kailua, Kona. He's resided on Hawaii Island for over 30 years. He's been active in the business community and is the president of Clark Realty Group, which is a real estate and land management company. Mr. Hogan has been active in community organizations such as the Kona Kohala Chamber of Commerce, the Hawaii Island YMCA, Rotary Club of Kona, and the Kailua Village Design District Commission. His business insight and business community contacts bring a much needed perspective to this committee.
Thank you, Shar. Mr. Hogan, would you like to add anything or make any comments at this point in time?
The only thing I'd like to say is, besides being part of the design committee, I also participated for probably 5 to 10 years on the initial design review for Kailua Village back in the 90s. In the 90s, in which we basically we're basically striving to do a lot of the very similar types of processes that the current CDP has come up with. And so I'm very encouraged by all of the various things that are in the CDP that we were trying to accomplish several years ago in the village.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Ms. Ford?
Thank you. My comments, I'm going to make general comments first. I started with the CDP from the very first meeting and went through the entire process. I'm intimately aware and involved in this process. And what Ms. Palma-Glenny said is absolutely accurate. It's vital that the Kona CDP have a breadth of community membership. And unfortunately, and with no disrespect to the mayor, but he persistently keeps sending development-oriented people for this committee. All of these people are fine people. That's not the issue at all. But I'm not going to be populating. I cannot vote. My constituents need me not to vote for people who have only one perspective, and that's the development perspective. Because we have North Kona, which is very, very different from South Kona, and I'm really quite distressed that we're going through this problem again. I know Mr. Hogan. I've talked to him on the phone on several occasions. He's a nice person. That is not the reason you put somebody on a CDP. It's to get a breadth of experience and a breadth of input. I will not be supporting Mr. Hogan for this position. Thank you.
Mr. Kanuha?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a different perspective. I think it is a breadth of, it is a good thing to have Mr. Hogan on this specific committee. He has that vast knowledge. He has that experience. He's been here for over 30 years. I've known him my whole life. I grew up with his daughter. So I know the types of responsibility he will take when being on this commission. I'll speak in general for the rest of them, how when Marnie Herkes spoke earlier, they all, including Greg, are dedicated not only to Kona, but to the Kona CDP. So I will vote for Mr. Hogan, and I appreciate his volunteerism and willing to work with the other members of the CDP and with the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kanuha. Mr. Iligan, Ms. Willie, and then Mr. Onishi.
Yes, Mr. Hogan, you do have a vast of experience. I mean, U.S. Navy, President of the Kona Kohala Chamber, a Rotary Club, Island of Hawaii YMCA, part of the design committee. It's great. Not only that, your first name's Gregor, and I love that name. And I gotta say, I fully support you, regardless of the fact that your first name is Gregor.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Ms. Willie?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Charmaine, in terms of the key component of the CDPs, that there be a environmental well-being, economic well-being, and cultural well-being, a breadth of experience. I would like to support every one of these candidates. Sounds like they're all great, but at the same time, I want to know that there is that diversity, that there is that wealth of experience, and I think with the, I really feel in a quandary. I believe strongly we have to look in terms of long-term well-being and how are each of these candidates, how can you answer that question? Is there a breadth of experience that's being offered here, or is it really a domination of economic well-being where people are also, concerned with the culturalness? I think she said no one here has attended any of these meetings or been involved. I think that's the second question, in terms of the level of concern. Again, I would very much like to support them, but again, I was on the South Kohala CDP, and where you have everyone coming from one angle, you don't have the representation that you need for the future, not just the present, but the future well-being of that community. So I'm really distressed. I feel like I'm in a predicament. I like every one of them. They all sound great, but again, the whole idea of the CDP would be to bring people from that have that diversity of background and approach.
There's a process that all the applicants go through. With the planning department. I have Bobby Jean.
Madam Director, would you please come forward? Please identify yourself.
Bobby Jean, Planning Director.
Did you hear Ms. Willie's question?
Yeah, we asked people to volunteer. We've asked the members of the steering committee, particularly those that are going off, to reach out to people that they may know to apply. And then when the applications come in, we go through an interview process, which is typically one staff member, one member of the, one or two members of the action committee or community members, and then they do interviews. My understanding of these particular applicants, Mr. Binder, it's my understanding that he will be on until August 1st, because I have not received a resignation from him. He is a member of the Sierra Club. He is a current member, but he is moving to Waimea. So after August 1st, he would need to have a replacement. Of the applicants, although we're on Mr. Ogan, because the question is about diversity, one of your current members, Mr. Schattauer, is his background is in ranching and farming. Your two current members, Mr. Kahui and Mr. Melrose, they have a background in housing. Mr. Kahui is working with La'iopua 2020, and Mr. Melrose has been a past chair of the West Hawaii Housing Foundation. Mr. Kahui also has a background in Hawaiian heritage and cultural issues, as does one of your proposed applicants, Hiram Rivera, who has done work with the State Historic Preservation Division in issues of archaeological sites and preservation, because he is a lineal descendant of a couple of the Ahupua'a in the Kona area. He also, so for cultural resources, Mr. Rivera is there, as well as Mr. Kahui. Mr. Rivera also happens to have a civil engineering background, as well as being in construction. Mr. Ogan has a background in landowning, developer. He's also a former deputy managing director for the County of Hawaii in Kona. I believe that might have been in the Akana administration. And we were thinking that Mr. Wong Yuen, we were excited about him because he's with the State Department of Transportation with the Airport Division, and we thought that he brought both a public safety as well as a health background because of his work as an executive board member for the Alzheimer's Association. Then Elaine Fukushima, who's another nominee, her background has been with involvement with youth sports, AYSO, People's Advocacy for Trails Hawaii, and she's also had a background in business economic development and education. And then Mr. Nagata is a social worker, and he's also a past executive board member of the Alzheimer's Association and a member, he's been basically an advocate for the Big Island elderly population. So I think there's some diversity there. I also think if you look at section 5-6 of your Kona CDP, it basically talks about that the membership should basically have a can-do attitude, a willingness to serve, concern for Kona. These are all people who are longtime residents and been active in the community in various types of organizations, whether it's the Chambers of Rotaries, the Y, PATH. So they bring different perspectives. When the first steering committee members came through, I'm going to tell you that the first time we had a list, we held up the list. And the reason was because of the concern that there was no cultural diversity. And we went out and recruited Mr. Kahui because he was the only Native Hawaiian on the board. This is actually, these nominees represent a more culturally diverse action committee than previously has been there. I think they represent both people who've moved there as well as people born and raised and educated in Kona. And they have a diversity of interests that they bring. We are going to lose Mr. Melrose in a few months, and then we're going to lose Mr. Binder. So they'll have to be replaced.
So perhaps...
And I would recommend that Mr. Binder try and get somebody that's got a similar interest, like he and Ms. Palmaglini, I think were both active with Sierra Club, and that they should try and recruit somebody with that background.
Right. So those two positions, and perhaps the mayor's officer, you could encourage those with an environmental background. Because, I mean, I think you've reassured me in terms of cultural, but I'm just trying to look at that triple bottom line well-being. I think that would address my concerns.
And I gave Mr. Kern a copy of the CDP, and it has two different sections. One is what they want primarily to be the guide of selection, and those are people who are committed to the plan, who are have a can-do attitude and are willing to volunteer and be involved. And then the second one is where they try to have, they said, while these are the primary qualifications, we also want to try and have representation from diversity and diverse elements. And I think of the 5 nominees, you could say that Mr. Ogun's involved in real estate and Mr. Rivera's involved in construction, but I'm not sure what the accusation that Ms. Fukushima or Mr. Wong Yuen, because he happens to work for the airport division, or Mr. Nagata are development oriented.
Okay,
Well,
I think we can let that aside. It's really not, for me, not against anyone. I think those are all great people. I think someone like Chauncey, you, it's wonderful. It's really getting that additional diversity. So, and whether by however the wording of the CDP, I think that diversity is important. I think that if you're looking to fill those other positions with where you don't have that representation right now is satisfactory to me. So
I appreciate your response. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Willie. Mr. Onishi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To speak to Todd, just a comment. If you could send that information that you sent to Mr. Kern to all of us, so that way the council members. Yeah.
It's section 5-6 of the Kona CDP, so you should have a copy of that in your offices, and it shows you what the primary guiding principles are for selection of the CDP, as well as additional guidelines to try and have that diversity.
I'll go ahead and state that for the record here after.
Thank you. But I also wanted to kind of mention, before Ms. Todd mentioned all that, but looking at the names, and like for some of them, I know them personally, so, and I dealt with them, so they're not developers, they're just ordinary local people. Like she mentioned, they work for the state, one is in social services, the other one works for the airports division and so forth. So, there is a diverse selection, but I guess sometimes members, we don't know everyone who goes and applies or who comes to in front of us, and so that's why we have the discussion with them at the table. And so I think we need to kind of just wait and, you have your questions for them, and that's when you make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Onishi. Ms. Ia?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I tend to support all of the 5 nominees because of their diversity. For the record, I would like to clarify, there's been a concern stated that these are the mayor's appointees and why aren't they coming from the district representatives? But I wanted to clear that up because I have been asked by the mayor and by Shar to come up with some names and to try and, recruit some good people for the action committee. So I will promise that over the next couple of months, I'll work with the action committee to come up with replacements for Mr. Melrose and Ms. Paula Glenny and Mr. Binder that will represent and continue to be diversified, make this group a diversified body. So thank you very much. And I know that's not specific to Mr. Oden, but I wanted to say something in general.
Thank you, Ms. Ia. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes?
I just wanted to notify the council that we actually have Mr. Mayor Kanoy here present.
Would he like to make a statement?
Sure.
Already more.
Aloha. To all of the distinguished members of the Hawaii County Council, the Committee on Planning, I was just so happened in the area and I wanted to stop by and personally thank each of our representatives from the community, our volunteer citizens who give their time to create a better community for their families, their neighbors, and our entire island community. And I know it's a challenge finding members for all of our boards and commissions, whether it's planning or liquor, police, fire, cultural resources, game management. We also had our redistricting commission, a charter commission. So it's hundreds of people throughout Hawaii Island. And people have asked, how do you nominate folks, or how do you choose who serves? And we say, well, people just come and apply. We want to encourage as many people as possible to serve. And how do we select them? Well, we select people to serve on boards and commissions, just like I select people to serve in the cabinet, to serve in the administration, to honorably and respectfully serve the county and the people of Hawaii Island. And if you look at our track record, we're in our 5th year now, this administration. Our administration members, people who lead our respective departments, if you look at all the service over these past 4 years, the many boards and commissions, I'm very proud that the people who serve our community are hardworking, they're community-minded, they're honest. In Hawaii, we have a word that we use. It's called kahiau. And this is who we look for. Kahiau means, it's defined as to give from the heart with no expectation of return. That's kahiau. Not quid pro quo aloha, but give from your heart and work hard and make the best decisions you can. You can speak to anybody who's ever served on a board and commission in the county of Hawaii in over the last 4 years. The redistricting members. I never picked up the phone and made a single phone call to any person I nominated. I never called to weigh in on a decision. You pick good people and you let them do their job. The people who sit behind me represent an entire cross-section of residents that go back decades, whose families have honorably served this island community. Our administration has made an unprecedented commitment to West Hawaii, and I take offense when people try to separate members of our community geographically by saying, oh, this is our district or this is their district. We're in every district, every week, every month, every year. And that's the only way on this big, beautiful island you can truly understand our families, our communities, more importantly, our values. Now, I respect the county council's authority and prerogative to vet board and commissioners, but I also respectfully request that we understand that these are our citizens, these are volunteers, these are people who care about our island community, not just today, but more importantly tomorrow, and the community we leave for our children. So we try to find good people who will have the time, hopefully the experience, expertise, but a lot of times you just want people from the community who care about their island to serve. So I want to thank the county council and all of you for the job you guys do to ensure that we have our best in our community serving. And if you guys have recommendations or suggestions, I mean, Charmaine Shigemura, who has the challenge of seating hundreds of people on boards and commissions, we welcome your input, we welcome your recommendations and suggestions, and thank you for the job you do, and most importantly, thank you for those from our community who take the time to serve, and to serve with aloha and no expectation of return. Maybe mileage and lunch once in a while, but other than that, it's okay. Mahalo.
Thank you, Mayor Noy. Okay, I'm gonna please turn off the microphone over there. Thank you. So this is just a statement out of the Kona CDP section 5.2.1, the organizational and structure of membership. The selection of members shall be guided by the following criteria. Can-do attitude with optimism moderated by realism. Open-minded when considering whether the old ways may no longer work. Willing and able to work with and collaborate with people who may have different points of view. Respect and appreciate other cultures besides their own. Willing to work with government by collaborating and building partnerships. Ability to see the big picture, consider and include more than one's own agendas. Cultural competence in Hawaii's multicultural society. Knowledge of the challenges of living and working in the distinctly different parts of Kona, North or South Kona districts. Connected with the community and know the people in the community. That's the guiding criteria. Now the other section is, although guided primarily by the criteria that I just stated, the section shall also strive to balance representation of the following interests: environment, housing, Hawaiian heritage, cultural resources or activities, landowners/developers, business or financing, public safety or health, education, general, including elderly, youth, or other interests. So that's the section out of there, so that's where they're going from. Now that's clear. My quick 2 cents on this is I had the honor to serve for 3.5 years on the Planning Commission. I chaired it for 2 years, and Mayor Kanoi is 100% honest when he says he doesn't call the commissioners. We had many controversial items come through. I never got one phone call from him or any of the administration. We were able to do our work, regardless of whether it was for the administration or at times I would oppose what the administration was doing, and it was okay. It was he trusts us to do our work, and I feel that that's been proven, and it's going to continue to do so. So I'm going to support the nominees. What I have seen consistently is good people that are committed, dedicated, being appointed and nominated to the commissions, and it's been working well. So thank you very much. With that, Mr. Clerk, let's take the vote.
Communication 149, the nomination of Gregory G. Ogen. Ms. Eoff. Ms. Ford.
No.
Mr. Iligan.
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha.
Aye.
Mr. Onishi.
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter.
Aye.
Ms. Willie.
Aye.
Mr. Yoshimoto.
Aye.
Chair Kern.
Aye.
Chair Kern, you have 8 ayes.
Very good. Thank you. So this will pass to council with a positive recommendation. Yeah, he doesn't need to show up to our council meeting, correct? Mr. Ogie, you don't need to come to our council meeting. Thank you very much. May I have a motion to close file and communication 149 and approve the nomination of Mr. Hiram P. Rivera to the Kona Community Development Plan Action Committee? I have a motion by Mr. Kanuha and a second by Mr. Onishi. Any discussion? Oh, excuse me, before discussion. Shahar, would you please introduce and we'll give
thank you.
Mr. Rivera a chance to speak.
Mayor Kinoy's next nominee to the Kona Community Development Plan is Mr. Hiram P. Rivera. This is for a 4-year term. He's a lifelong resident of Hawaii County and he resides in North Kona with his wife and family. He's a lineal descendant of the Ahupua'a of Kahului, and his family heritage extends over 200 years on the island of Hawaii. Mr. Rivera was raised on a Kona coffee and macadamia nut farm. He graduated from Konawaina High School and is the past president of the Lions Club. He's the owner of a site construction company locally based in Kona. Mr. Rivera's local knowledge of Kailoa's past and present development will assist the Action Committee in determining its future. And he is with us in Kona today also.
Thank you, Shar. Mr. Rivera, would you like to make any comments at this time?
Well, the only comment I want to make is that this is my second time here looking at this, but the comment I want to make is it's kind of insulting to hear that because we wasn't involved in the CDP plan that we don't have the passion or we don't have the heart to do it. I was born and raised here. I have more passion than most people who came here or who lives here. So I don't think that we should be ridiculed about that.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. A discussion over here. Ms. Ford?
Thank you. Once again, I will say that please don't mix up my testimony with some other person's testimony. That's the first thing. Secondly, with all due respect to Mr. Rivera, I don't know him personally. I know of him. But I stand by my statements earlier that we need to get a very broad perspective for Kona CDP. And with that respect, I will not be supporting Mr. Rivera. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Mr. Kanuha?
I also will say that Mr. Rivera does bring a different perspective on this committee. He is a lifelong resident and his family has been here for generations and generations. I can understand with him, as my family has also been in Kona for generations and generations. And the passion that he does have for Kona brings me to say that I recommend that all of our members vote for him because of his passion and because of his dedication to, as well, what I said before, not only the plan, but to the Kona community. So I appreciate him volunteering, and I will vote in favor of his nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kanuha. Any other discussion? Ms. Willie?
I just want to say I will be supporting his nomination to this committee, and I appreciate that the planning department and maybe with Ms. Eoff's assistance look to people with a cultural background, and so thank you for coming forward.
Any other discussion? I too will be supporting Mr. Rivera. It's great to have people that are willing to serve on this, and it's great to have people that are born and raised here on the island. It also gives a diversity of perspectives here. So I'll be supporting this. Mr. Clerk, can we please take the vote to confirm Mr. Hiram Rivera?
Ms. Eoff? Ms. Ford?
No.
Mr. Iligan?
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha?
Aye.
Mr. Onishi?
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter?
Aye.
Ms. Willie?
Aye.
Mr. Yoshimoto?
Aye.
Chair Kern?
Aye.
Chair Kern, you have 8 ayes.
Thank you very much. As we move forward to council with the positive recommendation. Mr. Rivera, you do not need to come to that council meeting if you don't want to. Thank you very much. May I have a motion to close file on communication board 149 and approve the nomination of Mr. Chauncey Wong Ewan to the Kona Community Development Plan Action Committee? I have a motion by Ms. Poindexter and a second by Mr. Onishi. Shar, would you like to introduce?
Mr. Chauncey Wong Ewan is the next nominee to the Kona Community Development Plan for a 3-year term. He's a lifelong resident of Hawaii and a graduate of Konawaina High School. He's a former Aloha Airlines and Hawaiian Airlines executive, and he's currently employed by the State of Hawaii Department of Transportation Airport Division as the Hawaii Airports District Manager. Mr. Wong Yuan was named the State Manager of the Year by Governor Minolingo.
Thank you, Shar. Mr. Wong Yuan, would you like to make any comments at this time?
Hello, Kakayaka, Chair Zurin and council members. It's a pleasure to be here. Addressing diversity, you know, I grew up in Hilo. I was born in Hilo. I went to the Silva School, and I was raised in Kaumana. My grandmother comes from the Ahupua'a of Waiea in South Kona. And we moved here to Kona when I was about 10 years old. My grandparents, my grandfather, Johnny Pieper, was a Parker Ranch cowboy. My grandmother, Betsy Lindsay, was the teacher, school teacher. She taught at Na'alehu Elementary School in Ka'u. And so her grandmother hailed from Kohala. So as you can see, I'm diversified geographically through descendancy lines throughout all the island. Now, I serve currently at the airport, and one of the issues that has constantly arisen has been, and many of us don't know, that the airport consists of about 4,200 acres of land. And I have a responsibility under the mandate given to us by Governor Ariyoshi, Executive Order 3074, as a manager and controller of that land. And so I take that responsibility very seriously. And as with all our airports are, you know, integral to our state being the only way to travel effectively and quickly throughout the island. So it's with that perspective I bring to the table the management of land. And certainly the community development plan, my association with that was through Nancy Prosicio back in 2007. I wasn't an active member simply because we were doing our own master plan at the same time. But it's important that the master plan for the airport system, you know, agree or coincide with what's being planned by the county. So I bring that to the table, and I just offer that to you today. And it's been said, it's volunteers. I assure you, I have a lot of work to do at the airport, and but I am pleased to serve in any way I can to make it better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wong Yuan. Any discussion?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Thank you. Mr. Wong Yuan, it is a pleasure to see you here today. I know Mr. Wong Yuan. I've worked with him for several years in emergency preparedness, on traffic issues around the airport, air traffic type issues, on several other issues. This man has a passion for the area. He's a wonderful person. He's honest and dedicated. I'm not saying that anybody else is not, but I know that he will give this his all. He is truly an inspiration, and working with him has been such a pleasure. I couldn't ask for anybody more qualified to be on the committee, because he's correct about the master plan for that 4,000 acres of airport. It is gigantic. It's unbelievable what an impact it's going to have on North Kona, to the hospital, to the university, to all of our hotels, to our tourist industry. He has to keep that whole thing running, and he does a really wonderful job of it. So I think the perspective, especially with our tourist industry alone, not to mention all the other stuff, with that perspective on the CDP, I think it's going to have tremendous impact and a tremendously positive influence. I support this nomination.
Ms. Willie?
I second everything that Ms. Ford said. My only concern is I would like him to move over to South Kohala. I mean, he has been in North Kohala, and but anyway, it's great that you're willing to participate, and thank you, Chauncey. And I look forward to your island-wide contributions as well, such as the Waimea Airport. Anyway, thanks again.
Ms. Young?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too would like to thank Mr. Wong Yuan for his willingness to take time out of his schedule to serve on the Action Committee, because I know he is a very busy person, but thank you so much.
Mr. Onishi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I also know Mr. Wong Yuan. I'm dealing with him in Hilo, so he has the diversity of the whole island, and so he's helped me out in my community in Kyokaha, and I really appreciate that, Chauncey. Thank you very much, and I will be supporting you, and I also echo what Ms. Ford and Ms. Willie said. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, let's take the vote to confirm Mr. Chauncey Wong Yuan.
Eoff?
Mike.
Ms. Eoff?
Aye.
Ms. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Iligan?
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha?
Aye.
Mr. Onishi?
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter?
Aye.
Ms. Willie?
Aye.
Mr. Yoshimoto?
Aye.
Chair Kern?
Aye.
Chair Kern, you have 9 ayes.
Very good. That will be moved to council with positive recommendation. Mr. Wong Yuen, you do not need to go to that meeting if you do not want to. Thank you very much. Moving forward, may I have a motion to close file and communication 149 and approve the nomination of Mr. Aaron Nagata to the Kona Community Development Plan Action Committee?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Kanuha and a second by Mr. Onishi. Shar, would you like to introduce the
The next nominee for a four-year term to the Kona Community Development Plan is Mr. Aaron Nagata, who is a lifelong resident of Kona. He's a graduate of Kona High School and a Willamette University graduate, where he did graduate with a Bachelor of Science degree. He's been employed by the State of Hawaii Department of Human Services as a social worker since 1987. He was a head football coach at Kona High School from 2006 to 2011 and a past Parent Teachers Association president, past executive board member for the Alzheimer's Association Kona chapter. He's presently an interdisciplinary team member for the Big Island's elderly population and participated in the community's regional part, the Old Airport planning. He's been active with various youth organizations such as the Big Island Pop Warrior Association, American Youth Soccer Organization, and the Kona Pony Baseball. His hobbies include pig hunting, fishing, four-wheeling, ATV, professional photography, and golf.
Thank you, Shar. Mr. Nagata, would you like to make any comment this time?
Yes, I do. This process has been very interesting, and it sounds rewarding and very humbling. And all I can say that, I'd like to give my 120% in serving on this committee and doing the best job that I could do. I work along with everybody who is involved and move forward in making our hometown, Kona, the best place to live in.
Thank you, Mr. Nagata. Any discussion? Ms. Ford?
Mr. Nagata, I will be supporting your nomination, and specifically because of your tremendous background in social services. I think that's an area where we in Kona have some serious deficiencies. As a person who works for the State Department of Human Resources, I don't need to explain to you that we don't have enough facilities, we don't have enough services for adults, much less our youth that are in trouble. So I'm hoping, and this is a little plug, that when you get on this committee, that you are going to be looking with that perspective. Not to say that you should exclude anything else, but from that perspective, to the types of services that we need to help our community grow healthier. And I do appreciate your willingness to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Onishi?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, how's it, Aaron? And thank you very much for volunteering your time, and I'll be supporting. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Kanuha?
I also want to say aloha to Aaron. I know you're going to be dedicated to this, and really appreciate your service to this, to Kona. So I know the community will really benefit from being there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, vote for the confirmation of Mr. Nagata.
Ms. Eoff?
Aye.
Ms. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Iligan?
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha?
Aye.
Mr. Onishi?
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter?
Aye.
Ms. Willie?
Aye.
Mr. Yoshimoto?
Aye.
Chair Kern?
Aye.
Chair Kern, you have 9 ayes.
Mr. Clerk, this nomination will be moved forward to council with a positive recommendation. Mr. Nagata, you do not need to come to that council meeting if you do not want to. Thank you very much. May I have a motion?
Thank you very much.
May I have a motion to close file and communication 149 and approve nomination of Ms. Elaine Fukushima to the Kona Community Development Plan Action Committee?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Eoff and a second by Mr. Onishi. Char, would you like to introduce?
Okay, our final nominee today to the Kona Community Development Plan is Ms. Elaine Fukushima for a 4-year term. She's a 30-year resident of Kailua, Kona, and she's worked for the past 2.5 years as an estate manager for Vulcan Personal Services. Prior to that, as a personal assistant for the Troxel Family Office. Ms. Fukushima has served as the West Hawaii representative on the Community-Based Economic Development Council, and in 1996 she ran as the Democratic nominee for the State House. Her interests include swimming, walking, reading, and spending her time with her grandchildren.
Thank you, Char. Ms. Fukushima, would you like to make any comments at this time?
Yeah, I just wanted to say again, I echo the rest of the group. I look forward to working on the Action Committee, and I definitely could support the Kona CDP. I'm very excited about it, and one of the reasons why I mentioned my grandchildren is because my daughter and her family live here in West Hawaii, and I care a lot about Kona and its future and our quality of life. So thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Kanuha?
I'll just say mahalo for volunteering. Keep that excitement up because we're going to always need it on this. So again, just thank you very much, and I support your nomination.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, let's take the vote to confirm Ms. Fukushima.
Ms. Young.
Aye.
Ms. Ford.
Aye.
Mr. Iligan.
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha.
Aye.
Mr. Onishi.
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter.
Aye.
Ms. Willie.
Aye.
Mr. Yoshimoto.
Aye.
Chair Kern.
Aye.
Chair Kern, you have 9 ayes.
Very good. This will move forward to Council with a positive recommendation. Thank you, Ms. Fukushima, and congratulations to all of the Action Committee members over there.
She doesn't need to.
Yeah, and you don't, Ms. Fukushima, you don't need to come to the next meeting. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next communication. Before we do that, it is lunchtime. I want to see what the council feels. I feel that we should move forward because Mr. Kwok is here for this one in particular. Once we make it through this, I'll see how everybody feels about the final communication in this committee. So with that, Mr. Clerk, will you please read in communication 164?
Communication 164, Resolution 75-13 urges the mayor to immediately implement the West Hawaii School Impact Fee. Of Councilmember Margaret Willie, dated February 21st, 2013, urging the mayor to implement Title 18, Chapter 302A, Section 302A-1601 through 302A-1612 of the Hawaii Revised Statute. The law requires new residential developments within designated school impact districts to provide land for schools or pay a fee in lieu of providing land proportionate to the impact of the development on the existing schools in the area.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. May I have a motion to close file on communication 164 and approve resolution number 75-13?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Willie and a second by Mr. Kanuha. Any discussion? Ms. Willie.
I want to start with the issue of the rule of law and respect for the law. Since 2007, there's been a school impact fee law, state law, and the question I see before us is whether we, as a council, want to support disregarding the law, regardless of whether we agree or disagree with the substance. This law does not say implement school impact fee laws unless the county decides it doesn't want to comply with the law. It doesn't say that. You know, you don't like a law, you got to deal with it or you got to change it, but you don't disregard it. That's what breeds disrespect and mistrust by the population. When people breach the law and they say, well, I don't like this law, I don't think it's right, we say, that doesn't matter. We have a way of dealing with problems and the way of having a structure in our society, and it doesn't mean that counties or any other government entity is above the law. So part of my concern here is really that I you know, I feel that we need to follow the law. I feel that it's a good law. And let me say I was involved, I have testified before DOE, including April 10th when this was passed, that to choose West Hawaii. I do understand, followed the mayor's concerns, such as that not wanting to be singled out. Since that time, this impact fee law has been also put into effect in Maui. It's now being worked on in Oahu. And basically, the way that the areas were selected was where there was the most impact, where there was the most development, where there was no other agreement or other method of securing any, you could say, development fees or assistance by that development for the related and anticipated and foreseeable need for additional capital development. This is not, the impact fees do not have to do with adding any kind of imposition for increased operating fees. It's only where there's an proportioning out the nexus between the impact of those of a residential development on the need for further capital development. So it's looking at the putting the burden and the benefit together. These funds go into a special fund. They can only be used for development of schools in that area. And again, just by way of background, you know, I believe, I also have a degree in education and think of myself as that's the future of our island is education. And when these capital costs are there, if you say, well, we don't want to impose them, the economy's difficult, how can we do it? Those costs don't go away. They're shifted to others. They're shifted to the other taxpayers. So I just want to say, again, that this is all about a law that's there. There were concerns. They have been addressed. It's basically a simple process. They've worked with Public Works. Public Works simply, there's, as in Maui, I've looked over all the forms, says you want a building permit, here it is, here's the form you fill out, shows what you're exempted. It's a one-page thing, call so-and-so, here's how the figures are made. And it's not as if each resident or each home is being charged for the full impact. It's 10% or less. And it's based on studies. You can exempt some counties around the places around the United States exempt the first 500 feet, and it's done on a per foot, square foot basis, and you can lower the charges, but it basically builds in that the community is supporting the need for schools. In Maui, a lot of the developers are very supportive of this. They say education is important in Maui. Come live here. School's important. So I just, again, want to go back. This has been going on, that basically our county is in disregard of the law, and we need to move on and implement this program. Thank you.
Ms. Poindexter.
Yeah, I don't think we're above the law or anything, and I don't feel that, you know, we're disregarding the law, but we also got to think about our people. For me, I read a report from the DOE which stated that the impact fee for a single family unit is $5,560 for the Makawao cost district. So that is, I'm concerned, I'm not more concerned about the bigger developers. I'm concerned, yeah, you can sit and let me finish. I'm concerned about the smaller developers and the individual, you know, owner builder people, the cost that impacts the individual person. So if I'm living in Kona or whatever, it's impact fee, and family gave me land and I'm going to go build, I'm going to have to pay an impact fee, correct? Okay, so.
Are you asking a question?
Let me not ask, let me just finish and then I'll ask you. Okay, so someone testified earlier that they didn't agree with it and they didn't agree with the formula, and I agree with that person. But somebody testified in Kona. And why should our people have to start paying these fees when I take and then think about all the stuff I'm saying so you can come back on me and prove me wrong. But we're not even on the list. I think we're number 16 on the list, Hawaii, to be considered to have a a school built or anything, we're number 16. So if I'm to go build a home and I get the impact fee, and I'm not young enough to have any children, but say I was, my children would not benefit from that because by the time the school is built or anything, so I'm concerned about, here a few weeks ago we talked about taking care of our people and struggling with the finance and stuff, and we wanted to decrease our penalties on property taxes, which I didn't vote for because the impact would have a direct, immediate impact on our resources for the county. This doesn't have a direct impact on the resources for our county if we postpone this for a while till our county is ready, till our people are ready for this. We are so broken right now. You cannot compare us to Maui. If you look at Maui's budget versus Hawaii County, you can see something is definitely wrong. We are struggling. We have a big land mass. We're struggling. We have so many issues that we need to start fixing before we can start doing these kind of adding more pressure on our family and smaller developers who we're not going to be able to grow. So I wanted to first, before you respond, I wanted to bring up Lincoln to ask him about, and I saw the face, you're making the gesture, it's called now the smile comes on, I love it, But I'd like to ask you, by postponing this, what are the risks of liability, or we because like Margaret was saying, this is the law, we gotta follow the law, will we put the mayor in prison for an outside? I mean, I'm just saying, what are the consequences of postponing this? Not disregarding it, Margaret. I'm not saying disregarding it. So that's not what I'm saying. I am saying postponing it so that we, as an island, can get ourselves together here and be healthier before we start imposing more of these types of impact fees on smaller developers and our residents. So I would just like to know, in postponing this, what are, if any, consequences?
Well, thank you.
Mr. Shida, please identify yourself.
Lincoln Ashida, Corporation Counsel. One matter that perhaps this council was not aware of was, I don't believe that the County of Hawaii has been ignoring what's been characterized as ignoring this issue or this requirement. I know that the administration, including Mayor Kanoe, has had a number of meetings, both himself personally and his executive assistants, meeting with state officials to address some of the concerns, Ms. Poindexter, that you raised, that the disproportionate impact that this would have on the County of Hawaii vis-a-vis other counties in our state. As a matter of fact, I recall seeing an email just, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago from Bobby Command, one of the mayor's executive assistants who has been monitoring this, attending some of the meetings on Oahu concerning this impact fee requirement. So I just wanted to place that on the record because I appreciate perhaps the council may not have been aware of that, what was going on behind the scenes. So to answer your direct question, if the council feels that perhaps it may be inclined to postpone this, defer this, so that perhaps they can discuss with Mr. Command or the administration where they are, so that we can have a unified approach or response and not negotiate, but try to work this out with the state under the circumstances of what has transpired over the last couple of years, and I know it's been a couple of years. There may be some value in that, but I don't think anybody's going to go to jail or anything like that. I know you're joking, but
No, but that
it is a serious matter.
Yeah, it is. But that's what I was asking about, if we could postpone it. And thank you for talking in a lower voice, which got me to lower my voice. Because I was just starting to get real passionate about our people.
No, I'm hungry as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mr.
Yes,
Kwok, this is Mr. Kwok.
Mr. Kwok, okay.
Thank you.
You want to respond to some of my statement?
Sure.
And let me state that, we would appreciate, any further discussions the mayor, and his administration would like to have with us as far as implementing all or part of the, impact fee. As, you raised a number of points. I guess the first is the formula and the underlying analysis that went into the district. And, unfortunately, it's not like we just pulled the fee amount out of thin air. It is set by statutory formula. And I note that the West Hawaii fee is substantially lower than the Maui fee due to a number of factors. Secondly, on the issue of affecting individual lot owners. I know the mayor also raised that concern. And what the OE proposed earlier, when we were originally talking about the implementation of the impact fee law, was to postpone it on the individual lot owners and start implementing on larger developers until we were able to come to some resolution on the individual lot owner question. And obviously we haven't been able to work that part out with the mayor either. And then I guess finally on the issue of new schools or planned new schools in Kona. You're correct in the sense that we don't have a new in our CIP for this current biennium request. We don't have a new school in Kona. We anticipate having one within the next 2 biennium cycles, particularly in the Kamakana Villages project in Kealakekee.
Just have one more question of you. So you said you met with the mayor, but prior to all of this,
I did not personally meet with the mayor.
So prior to this, who was negotiating this? I mean, did they meet with our department heads? Did they come up? I mean, what was the process?
Myself and one of my colleagues met with county planning and permitting staff on, I believe, May 3rd of 2010, which was soon after the adoption of the West Hawaii Impact District in April of 2010. And then our assistant superintendent at the time, Randy Moore, met with, I believe, Mayor Kinoy on June 1st of 2010. And we've had additional correspondence since then.
Okay, so I still see that you're still trying to work out something because, like what I had stated here, I'm concerned for the smaller developers and the individual homeowners because we're already, I mean, there's so many issues going on.
I understand.
That are bigger that now you're imposing a lot more financial burden on people that is right now, like I said, our island is a little broken, with higher electricity rates. I mean, so when you talk about the fees that are imposed on Maui, that Kona is lower, Maui you have different fees for different areas, and I noticed in the rural areas you do have them lower, but it was only like about $200, not even $200 lower. Makawao was $5,560, and I think you had Lahaina at $5,700 something when I looked it up. So there's not much of a difference from rural, so.
All right, Ms. Poindexter, for the sake of time, after this, will I ask you to yield and we'll go around?
Just to address that last point, under the current calculations for the West Hawaii Impact District, the fees would be, assuming all cash, $2,350 for single family and $1,436 for multifamily. So it would be substantially lower than the Maui fees.
Thank you. Mr. Onishi?
Mr. Chair, I'll pass. So.
Okay. Mr. Logan?
You mentioned that you already have the district drawn out, and you said you were targeting more big developers rather than the smaller subdivisions, and also the single lot homeowners. I was wondering, how exactly were you going to do that? Go ahead.
I didn't say quite that. Unfortunately, the district is geographically located. If we were to work out an arrangement with the county where we were implementing for larger developers only and try to work out some other arrangement, or work with the legislature in changing the law, probably that would be taken care of at either the subdivision or permitting phase. It would depend on the type of permit that the applicant was pulling.
Okay, I was just curious because I kind of see a potential lawsuit in that. But I'm just wondering.
Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for coming here. I know you flew in from Oahu, is it? Yeah.
Please use your mic.
How did that turn out? I actually used to live in Hawaii County for about a year, so it's nice to be back.
Yes,
Briefly.
we really appreciate you being here for this discussion. I'm in favor of a postponement, but before I go, I just want to ask a few questions. Sure. In the sheet that I got earlier, the school impact district, developments exempt from impact fees. It says residential development already subject to an executed DOE fair share agreement. Can you give an example of that? I didn't really understand what types of examples would be for the example.
I don't have a particular project in West Hawaii that I can cite off the top of my head, but there have been cases where a developer entered into a fair share agreement with the DOE, generally as part of the entitlement process when they found before the LUC or county zoning. So if they have an existing agreement under the statute, we would honor the terms of that agreement instead of going by the terms of the impact fee law.
Okay, thank you. Next question. A lot of the concern that was stated earlier was that impact fees should not be imposed upon individual residential lot owners. And that's also a concern I have, it's a concern that a lot of people have. But the response from DOE said that the statute does not give the DOE the authority to exempt individual residential lot owners. So that's basically the law, and that's the response of the DOE.
That's unfortunately correct in the sense that the law doesn't give the DOE latitude as far as exempting a particular homeowner set.
Okay, also, if we do start implementing this, would it be retroactive? Let's say developments that started happening 2010, would they be subject to required to pay the fee?
I'd say that's an open question. I would also say that really the main enforcement mechanism is tied to the building permit, so it would be very difficult to, you could ask very nicely, but there's really would be no incentive on the part of the developer.
Got it. I have a concern, especially within West Hawaii. There's been a lot of developments around schools. I mean, one example, Kona Elementary School, there was a new development right next to it, and which, they can barely even hold as many kids as they had, 5 or 6 years ago, and it's exploding right now with the amount of developments that are happening. But what you're seeing is really no schools going to be built within the near future, and I just have a really big concern about that, especially there's a lot of developments going to happen.
Actually,
Go right ahead.
actually, like I said, well, if it wasn't in this year's planning, we anticipate putting in a CIP request for the KLK2 Elementary in Kamakana Villages in West Hawaii within the next 2 budget cycles.
Okay, yeah. And just the last concern I had real fast was it just doesn't seem fair that these impact districts are only centered upon certain districts. We work as an island, or we work as a state, or whatever it is, and it just doesn't seem fair that, let's say, West Hawaii has to put the brunt in these certain areas for these certain impacts, and that's why I wanted to have that postponement so that the administration can work with you guys to or with the state legislature, whoever it is, to make sure that these problems that we all have, and I know I'm not the only one, are addressed. So I'm going to yield at this time, but I just want to make sure you know that. So.
Ms. Yao.
Thank you. I agree with what Mr. Kanuha has just stated, and I support the notion that we could continue this discussion with more information and possibly the mayor or his executive director here with us. But it's reminiscent of the same problem that we went through, or our previous council went through, with impact fees in general, that we want to impose impact fees on the larger developments, but not to hurt the small lot owners. So I'm thinking if this council could come up with this administration a legal way to avoid that problem, we would be doing very good to find a way to implement the smaller school impact fees as a starter without impacting small individual lot owners. So I would support us working really hard to find that kind of direction for this county.
Thank you, Ms. Yao. Ms. Ward?
Thank you. Your budget cycle for the state is a 2-year cycle, is that correct?
That's correct.
So within the next 4 years, you say that you're going to build a school in Kealakekee area.
I said I anticipate we put it into the budget.
Okay. Well, that's a big difference.
It is.
Yeah. I'd like to get a few things in the budget. Okay. Now, you're going to, if this impact fee were to pass, I mean, it has passed at the state level, but to be implemented here in the county, if the developer builds a subdivision only of lots, then they would not be assessed this fee at all, correct?
That's correct. It would then be passed on.
Okay. So then it would be whoever pulls the permit. So everybody who pulls a permit would be an individual builder of a house, and they would all be exempt. So we have a huge loophole here, huge loophole. And no developer is going to build a house when they can subdivide the lots and sell off the lots and not have to pay that fee. There are no stupid developers on this island. Okay? So that's one problem. There's a massive loophole. Okay? But the problem is then we have no schools. So Mr. Ishida, oh, you like that, huh? Come on up. You're on the hot seat now. Mr. Kwok, and anything I say is not directed at you personally, okay? Even if I get hysterical. All right. Mr. Kwok, what does the state DOE intend to do about the fact that Hawaii County is basically defying the law to implement impact fees? I mean, it's nice to talk. You've been doing that for 2 years. What's the bottom line? What are you guys going to do about it?
That's also an open question.
Okay, well, that's Mr. Ishida. I know Ms. Poindexter asked about exposure. From your perspective, what could the state do about this?
Well, there's a range of possibilities. They could file for some sort of injunctive or other relief compelling the state, compelling our county to do something. But, obviously, that's something that I would consider perhaps something of last resort, that some amicable discussion would occur first.
Is that the only, a motion for injunctive relief? Is that?
Well, no, I'm not suggesting that's the exclusive remedy, but that's a remedy that comes to mind if the end result that they seek is compliance.
Can they, if such a, is it called a motion? A motion for injunctive relief?
Well,
am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay. If they were to do that, what is the exposure that the county might have besides being ordered to implement? That would be one thing. And then if we defy them, then we're dealing with maybe jail time or something for all the council members and the poor mayor. Okay. But if we were ordered to do that, and possibly they could order it retroactively, is that a possibility?
Anything is possible. I think it's very difficult and not very advisable or prudent to discuss those what may happen or what's going to happen. You're correct though. There's a range of possibilities, but before we even get to that point, I think that trying to work this out with the state is really the way to go.
Okay. I'm concerned that it's taken 2 years and we haven't come to a resolution yet. And when I say we, the state and the county together have not come to a resolution. Okay.
Well, may I just add
Yes,
something?
absolutely.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
You know, this, no, I don't know why, this was placed on the agenda, and I don't know if it's appropriate,
Wrong answer.
Mr. Chairman, if I can ask, direct the question to Ms. Willie. But Ms. Willie, were you contacted by the state, and did someone request that you put this on the agenda?
Excuse me, point of order. I don't know that Ms. Willie should be questioned on why she did something. I really don't.
Okay, well, the reason I ask is...
I'll allow it.
Well, the reason I'll just say, the reason I'm asking...
I don't mind answering. I mean, I agree with...
Please remember, I have the floor to cut my time.
The reason I'm asking...
Okay,
I'm sorry,
I agree that I don't think this is appropriate. No, I have followed this issue. I testified at the same time as the administration since, I don't know when, but maybe it was 2008 this came up, and April of 2010, and I followed along. And I raised it because it's my concern and my concern about education. And I know at least last summer, Bobby Command said to me, we've come to, they're now doing it in Maui and they're now doing it here, and we're ready to begin. And
Okay, Ms. Wu, I think you did answer the question.
I'm going to finish my sentence. And the state has been offering to come assist the county and meet with Public Works and show them, and we have been blocking it. And I just want to
Okay, that's no longer answering the question. Point of order. Ms. Ford does have the floor. You answered the question that Mr. Ishida asked. Thank you very much.
Chair.
Ms. Ford, you have the floor.
Are we sure?
Yep.
Okay. Hold on. Okay, I think you've answered my question. I understand your caution.
Yeah,
Okay,
and Ms.
please
Ford,
go ahead.
Yeah, and again, the reason, I didn't, please, I wasn't trying to put anyone on the spot, but the reason I asked that question was I was just curious as to the immediate urgency now, because, this has been something that the state and the administration has been dialoguing about, albeit not every day, but, over a period of months and now years. And I was just wondering what happened that, like this, following up to Ms. Ford's question, well, what can the state do? I thought, well, they haven't done anything so far. They could have filed, had their Attorney General wanted to, could have filed immediately, but they didn't, because I thought we were having good discussion. So I was more curious and concerned that has something happened that I didn't know about that prompted this. And that's the only reason I asked.
All right, let me make a couple, and ask Mr. Kwok a question. Is the title for the head of your department DOE called the Superintendent of Schools or DOE or something?
Superintendent.
Superintendent, okay. I gotta tell you guys, I'm really torn on this one. I absolutely believe in impact fees. And this one was passed legally, and it meets all of the state requirements for impact fees. Whether we like it or not, it exists as a law. And the exposure that we're under, I'm not comfortable with. With that said, I'd like to tell you a short story, and please,
Very short.
Mr. Kwok, this is not directed at you.
I understand.
When we started the CDP for Kona years before I got on the council, the very first meeting, I sat down at a table with 10 people, and we all introduced ourselves, and there was a person from DOE there. And I said, do you live here? No, I'm from Honolulu. I said, what are you doing at our CDP? And this person said they had been directed by the then superintendent to come to the meeting and vote against any development in North Kona because they were not going to build a single new school in North Kona. And that's when I did ignition and liftoff and tried to get the person thrown out of the meeting, and I was not successful. And when we came to voting for all the different things, where we wanted development, where we wanted ag, that type of thing, this person voted to not have any development in North Kona so they could prevent building any more schools. So Mr. Kwok, I remember this. This is about 10 years ago, and I've never gotten over it, that the DOE is not interested in building schools in North Kona for our children. So I'm really torn on this. Besides the loophole that I see here, I don't have any faith in the superintendent that they intend to really build a school. And putting into the budget is a lot of fluff. No offense to you at all. So, I'm glad, I got a chance to say this because I'm really still upset because I'm like Margaret. I believe education is one of the most important things we do for our students, and I want these schools built, and I believe in impact fees. And the fees that you've quoted here are not excessive in my opinion. But at the same time, I have a tremendous lack of faith in DOE. Not the teachers, not the principals, we're talking the administration in Honolulu, that they're going to actually build us a school. I just see money going into a fund that gets rated for something else. So I just needed to say that because I understand why Margaret put this on the agenda. I think we're in a jeopardy situation as a county, and I'm not comfortable with that. And I'm not comfortable with not building schools. With that said, I'm going to yield.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak that has not spoken already? Yeah, I'm going to make a statement then I'll. Gregory spoke. Yeah. I'm going to make a quick statement here and then we'll go back around.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
Gregor.
Gregor already spoke once. So my question was, and I already asked.
Okay, well, I didn't speak yet. Oh,
I'm sorry.
But then, Mr. Chair, you should let everyone speak, and then you supposed to be speaking last after everything's all finished.
Yeah, and I did ask the question if I let everybody go once that I could speak.
No. Usually the process is you let everyone just all talk discussions.
And I am the chair of this one,
yeah.
So
yeah.
I asked.
The answer's
Mr.
no.
Onishi.
No, but okay, so let me just I just wanted to say that I guess for the council, for the past council, it kind of just didn't get in the radar, and we're sorry for that. But what might be a possibility is to get our legislature from this island to do maybe an amendment to this Act 188, and I think that's the process. Maybe we can go through. I guess maybe talking to Lincoln or to council or to administration to try and see if we can do some amendments to Act 188 that can help us on this island. Okay, so that's a possibility. So if you folks want, maybe I can, when I go out for AIDSAC, I can talk to some of the legislatures, see what we can do on this. Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Willie.
Okay, a couple things. Under the impact fee bill and how it be imposed, if these monies are not used to either build a school or enlarge or increase, it's not just an issue of whether a new school will be built. They do have a list. They put out that list. That list can be changed. That's where they're anticipating based on when they did that list. But it's also for any kind of expansion. It's not just where is a new school. So if these funds must be used within a certain period or they're returned. There's a guarantee. I mean, they're built in. Number two, one of the issues is just under the law, we can tax or we can also make laws to promote the welfare and safety of our constituents. This law is not a tax law, so we don't get to pick and choose. We like, these are the bad guys, these are the good guys. If you're little, you don't get one. If you're big, you do get one. This is a development fee. It's basically based on impact. It would be like the water. You turn on your water. You're getting a charge. You build it in. It's all part of that. We could exempt perhaps the first so many feet. We could do something, but we can't say we're not going to. Okay, maybe we can do anything we want until someone goes to court and starts us. But we legally would not be in the right to go and say we want to exempt out certain groups that for one reason or another. It's just done. It's done on a nexus level, so you don't have thresholds. One of the questions that you asked, or I forget who asked, was Councilmember Kanuha about these development agreements. So that's basically where individuals or developments have gone to lurk. They have a school impact. They do put it in. So in our county, most of our developers, in one way or another, there's less not gone there, and we have the highest level of residential development where there's nothing, not even 10, and this 10% isn't across the board needs, it's only a proportion. So it's almost like a contribution. And again, let me say, this cost doesn't go away. If it's not on the one that's bringing this, it's on Valerie or every other little person. So You know, when we're trying to save everybody, we're just shifting it over to the other everybody. Anyway, so I don't agree with going and trying to eliminate this law. I think I would like to postpone this discussion. I'll move to do that. I feel Bobby Command has been the one in charge. He would be a good person. And how do we get this resolved? I believe it's been referred to the AG's office. It hasn't popped up to the top priority level. You know, I don't like standing in disregard of the law, and that's the way it is. And I would like to move. I put this on here to move this forward, and let's get it done, and let's make it work for here. I mean, so many other places that the developers say we like this because it shows dedication to education. Again, I just want to reinforce this board. It's not about do we build a new school. It's any kind of expansion. And there is also provisions for lot owners where it's just the lot coming in. So I think a further discussion would be good. So I move to postpone, whatever that means. And I'll hang on whatever you want and just move the discussion forward.
I'm aware of that. Mr. Yoshimoto.
Okay, well, actually, I just wanted to make a point about having Mr. Kern or any chair of any committee speak after council members have spoken once. You know, this is a point of personal privilege and procedure, so I didn't interrupt Ms. Willie as a courtesy. I would have, but I know she wanted to say something. And sometimes it's better just to let those things go rather than fight over a procedural point. But you know, I wanted to hear what Mr. Kern had to say because I think he might have something to add. Traditionally, or in our rules, it's true the chair is not supposed to engage in discussion or try and sway the council either way. But we're in committee, and my point being, council members, is that we need to get this kind of straight now, because my expectation was that committees, we relax things, we talk things through, we really have a lot of time, or well, usually have a lot of time, maybe not today. But, and so, you know, my preference is that, you know, we allow the committee chairs to do that once we have a run through for all council members. Now, I know that's not the letter of the rules, but, you know, quite frankly, we interpret the rules, in my opinion, by case. So, you know, in this particular day, I think I would have preferred to have heard Mr. Kern. And in any future case, if this circumstance presents itself, I think we can do that. Otherwise, we don't have the rule. We do letter of the law, kind of like 3-minute rule, and we just leave it like that. But I want to get the tone consistent, as Mr. Onishi likes to say a lot. We need to be consistent in how we apply it. So I want to raise it now, so that in the future we don't have this, well, you know, he or she can or cannot or whatnot. So, so Mr. Chair, that's what I wanted to address right now, so in the future we can just kind of have a clear guidelines for what we're going to do.
Hey, Mr. Chair, can I add on to that?
Yeah, you can add on to that, and we'll go to Mr. Logan after that.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to say earlier, is being consistent, because if we're gonna, like what Mr. Yoshimoto said, is that then in other committees, you know, you need to let the council members to do their testimony, to make their comments, and not cut them off where, okay, we only have like 1 hour, so we'll stay with 1 hour. Discussion's gotta move on, because like Mr. Yoshimoto said, this is at committee level, and that's when all the discussion should be done. Because when it comes to council, then it should be moving more smoothly and faster, because all the discussion was done at committee, and that's why we have the committees, is to get everybody out there to it. And not to shut up where, okay, we only have 45 minutes, well, let's do it 45 minutes. You know, if it goes longer, it goes longer, right? And that's where maybe then you can get engaged in, like chairpersons can get engaged in the discussion too. But we need to just stay consistent. And or maybe like, you know, I would suggest before times too, we get too many rules. Maybe we should get rid of some of the rules, you know, because there's rules, and we always making motions to suspend the rules anyway. So why we have these rules when we're always suspending? So that's another thought that we could look at. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Onishi. Mr. Logan.
I really want to speak, but Mr. Chair, you should.
No, please do. You got the floor.
Okay. I just wanted to make this point, because when I went to Washington, I got the chance to see other counties and how they function. And other counties, they help out their schools. They have their school districts. And my whole point, regardless whether we are county, state, or federal, I feel like our 3 main roles for government is transportation, public safety, and education. And a strong advocate for education, and I really want to help out this school. And one of the comments that Councilmember Ford mentioned, that we're investing this into the budget and it's going to be spent elsewhere. Well, there's a provision in 302A-1608 that each designated school impact district shall be a separate benefit district. Fees collected within each school impact district shall be spent only within that same school impact district for the purposes collected. And I feel like we really do need to help the schools and education. And I've been reading this law, and what I notice is that you have been very legit, and you started in 2008, and here we are in 2013. I feel we really do need to work with you in trying to get this set up. And I'm here to support this. And I know we're in hard economic times, but we have to do our part to help out education. Thank you.
Mr. Newhouse?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In this resolution, the second whereas on the second page reads, in 2010, Assistant Superintendent Randolph G. Moore met with Mayor Kinoy to explain the implementation of the program would take minimal effort on the part of the county. Basically, I wanted to know what this minimal effort would entail, but the next whereas says the county's role in implementing this program would consist of providing those affected with notice of a requirement when seeking related permits and direct those parties to the DA to calculate the fee owed and how to submit payment. I just wanted to ask if there was anybody here from the county to actually talk about that minimal amount of effort it would take for us as a county, or as us as the permitting departments to do this type of minimal effort. Okay. Well, that's just a question I had, and we can put it for later. Thank you.
Right.
Ms. Ford? Please use your mic. Ms. Willie?
And it would be that Public Works has a form that when you go in to get a building permit, they hand out things like, this is for your water connection, this is for your school impact fee. The one in Maui, you can look them up on the internet. It's like a one page. If you are in any of these categories, you're exempt from it. And here's the calculation. And call this number and you get the information. That was Randy Moore. So that's the simple answer. If you want to look at the forms, you could go to the one on Maui and get an idea. So basically, directing them where you pay, say, your water connect fee, your school impact fee, it would be. That's my understanding, and that's my understanding listening to the DOE board, listening to Randy, and listening to other DOE, and, et cetera, et cetera.
Ms. Ford?
Thank you. Just one sentence on Mr. Yoshimoto's comment about whether or not the chair gets to speak at any point in time. I think that should be a separate discussion at another time on the agenda, because I think we got a lot of arbitrary and capricious stuff going on. So I just want to say that. However, let me go back to page 12, reaction to West Hawaii School Impact District. DOE should consider busing students from new developments to underutilized schools in South Kona and Honoka'a. We're talking about building lots of development in North Kona. That's our targeted area for growth. You're going to bus kids to South Kona, which is at least, by bus, it's going to take an hour to get down there. Have you seen the traffic going up and down the hill at this point, where it's stop and go traffic? It's ridiculous to bus the kids these kinds of, and Honoka'a, we're going to send our North Kona students to Honoka'a. Give me a break. We got kids down in Ocean View right now that are an hour and a half on the bus each way. Not to mention DOE is cutting the bus service, and our mass transit system is picking up the slack, and we aren't running enough buses to take our regular workers to work, plus the students. And we're getting no financial help from the DOE to bus these kids around. So I'm really having some issues with I do support impact fees, but I'm really having some issues with DOE's lack of support of the students in this county. Thank you.
Mr. Yoshimoto?
I want to echo Ms. Ford's comments on the bus system, because she and I have gone through that multiple times, so I completely agree with her on that. But on the point of personal privilege or procedure, I'm going to completely disagree with her on that, because we need to get it straight, because the previous council, I won't name names, but I could, were going back and forth all the time. So I just want to set the tone so when we move forward from this point on. My expectation was that there's latitude given at committee. That's all I'm saying, because how I'm going to run the council meetings is also give latitude where it's necessary, right? But in committee level, my understanding is it always helps to hear from the chair, especially after everyone has spoken once. And I know I could have interrupted, but I didn't. But since we brought it up, I wanted to air it just so everyone knows. Thank you. Ms. Ford.
Thank you. I actually agree with Mr. Yoshimoto. I wouldn't mind having the chair speak after the first round and after the second round and after the third round. But I gotta tell you, why I say arbitrary and capricious is because how many times has members of this council, this current council, called for the question when I still have something to say and I haven't even had a third chance to talk? It happens all the time, so it depends on who wants to listen and who doesn't want to listen. That's the problem. And we've got a couple people in this council that do it all the time, and I'm tired of it. So
Point
if
of
we're
order.
gonna be
Let's
fair,
start addressing our concern to the chair.
Excuse me, I have the floor. Mr. Iligan,
Point of order. Please address your.
I am addressing
to
the chair. I am addressing the chair. He's one of the people who do it. So, if you want to be arbitrary and capricious, that's one thing. If you want to follow the rules exactly, I make many suspensions of the rules. So we all need to be treated fairly. It's not just, oh, we're going to impose this on her, but we're not going to impose anything on him. So let's be fair about this too.
Yeah, we'll have that discussion later. Let's just finish this resolution and get to a vote. Mr. Kanuha?
Just one quick response to the whole busing system. In our papers provided, DOE should consider busing students from new developments to underutilized schools in South Kona, but the response was that DOE doesn't believe this is realistic. Was that the DOE's, this is the DOE's response in the paper, but what Ms. Ford said, she said that they should do. What is your response?
My understanding was that Ms. Ford said that we should build new schools in North Kona instead of busing students. And I would agree with that, and I would say that's part of the reason why we're asking for the impact fee to be implemented.
Postpone now.
Just did.
Moving to postpone. Do I have a second?
Second. Okay.
There's a motion to postpone by Ms. Willie. The second. Discussion? Yes, for Mr. Onishi. Okay. Any discussion on postponement? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, take the vote to postpone.
When are you going to postpone till, Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Willie?
I would say to the call of the chair, but I ask that it be arranged with Bobby Command when he can be present. Okay? So, and also working in with whatever budget, so we do have at least an hour available.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, that's what it'll be, to call the chair in conjunction with Bobby Command in relation to our budget time, so we actually have enough time to get through everything.
This is in regards to communication 164, motion to postpone to the call of the chair. Ms. Eoff.
Aye.
Ms. Ford.
Aye.
Mr. Iligan.
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha.
Aye.
Mr. Onishi.
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter.
Aye.
Ms. Willie.
Aye.
Mr. Yoshimoto. Chair Kern.
Aye.
Chair Kern, you have 9 ayes on your motion to postpone.
Good. Thank you. What we're going to have to do is recess the planning committee until after the finance committee. I do apologize to the folks in Kona waiting for this, but due to the sake of time, we're going to take an hour lunch. We should be reconvening at about 2 o'clock, and we'll go into finance committee, and when that is done, we will reconvene the planning committee and finish the day out with that. Thank you very much.
She was just gonna prove me. You know.